Welcome to Whispers of the Night. You've found your way to a quiet place, a place where the day's edges soften and the world feels far away. Tonight, we'll set aside everything you've carried, like setting down a heavy bag at the door. The air here is warm and still, filled with the faint scent of wood and salt water. A candle flickers nearby, its light dancing across the walls in gentle waves. You've arrived at the beginning of a journey, not through busy streets or crowded rooms, but across calm waters of thought and dream. All you need to do is listen. Let the words carry you, and feel the steady rhythm of your breath guiding you farther and farther into rest. Let's take a moment to prepare your body for sleep. Begin by finding the most comfortable position, feeling the weight of your body supported fully beneath you. Notice the points where you meet the bed, your head, your shoulders, your back, your legs all resting heavier with each breath. Inhale slowly, feeling your chest and belly rise, and exhale, gently letting tension drift away like a small boat untied from its mooring. Again, a slow breath in, drawing in calm, cool air, and a slow breath out, releasing anything that no longer needs to stay. Imagine your body as a shoreline, and each breath as a gentle wave arriving and receding. Your arms grow heavier, your legs soften, even the muscles in your face loosen, eyes sinking deeper into rest around you. The world is growing quieter, sounds fade into the distance, leaving only the steady rhythm of your breath. You are safe, you are warm, you are here, in this moment, and nowhere else matters. Soon, we'll set sail into tonight's story, but for now, simply float in this stillness as the waters of sleep begin to rise around you. A boat that sailed only in dreams. The harbor before sleep. Before the boat leaves its mooring, you stand at a quiet dock, the wood damp with evening rain. Lantern light pools on the water, soft as candle wax, and the tide moves in slow breaths. You sense the promise of a voyage that may never leave the shore, yet still carries you far away. Your journey begins in the stillness, where the sea and your mind share the same rhythm. The day has already folded itself into night. A low mist hangs over the harbor, softening the edges of everything it touches. You stand on weathered planks, the wood still holding the warmth of the day's sun, now cooled by the steady touch of evening air. Somewhere far out in the bay, a buoy bell rings, not urgently, but with the slow patience of something that has all the time in the world. The dock is quiet, except for the occasional sigh of water against the pilings. It's a sound older than language. The gentle argument between tide and shore. You can almost hear the sea breathing. Each rise and fall of water, a drawn-out inhale, a lingering exhale. Somewhere in that rhythm, your own breathing begins to match. A single lantern sways above you, its light spilling in small golden ripples over the dark water. It glows not with the sharp brightness of electricity, but with the rounded warmth of a flame, the sort that burns as much for comfort as for vision. Moths circle lazily in its halo, their wings tracing invisible loops, drawn again and again to the heart of that quiet light. The boat you have come to see waits at the far end of the dock. Its hull is dark, the paint weathered, the ropes at its side neatly coiled. It is moored as if sleeping, shifting only when the tide tugs at its lines. Even from here, you can smell the faint tang of salt and wood tar, the signature scent of vessels that belong more to the water than to land. You take slow steps toward it, the boards creaking under your weight in long, measured notes. Some planks bend slightly, their grain polished smooth by decades of boots. Fishermen's, sailors, wanderers, in those worn grooves. You sense all the departures that began here, and the returns that ended in the same spot. The air is cool, but not cold, tinged with the mineral scent of seawater and the faint sweetness of wet rope. Your fingers trail along the dock's railing, damp from the mist. As you draw nearer to the waiting boat, you pause before stepping aboard, letting your eyes wander over the harbor itself. It rests in a natural curve of the coastline, the land holding the water as gently as a cupped hand. Small boats rock on their moorings, some with sails neatly furled, others bare-masted like sleeping trees. The far shore is a watercolor blur, low buildings, a scattering of street lamps, the faint suggestion of chimneys. The tide is in a thoughtful mood tonight, neither rushing in nor pulling away with force. Instead, it seems content to hover in place, as though the sea is listening. And perhaps it is, after all. Tides are not moved by the water alone, but by the moon's patient pull, a silent conversation that has been going on for billions of years. When you watch the surface carefully, you can see small patterns forming and breaking. The mingling of winds, touch, and water's will. A tiny swirl appears, then fades. A reflection shifts, then returns. The harbor is never still, yet it never hurries. You step onto the deck at last. The boards here are narrower, smoother, carrying the subtle give of a surface that has moved with the waves for years. The sound changes to less of the solid thump of dockwood, more of a softened, floating tone that speaks of space beneath you. The boat is not large. It doesn't bristle with modern machinery or shout its presence with bright paint. Instead, it seems almost to belong to the night itself, quiet, modest, waiting. Its ropes hum softly against the wooden cleats with each gentle shift of the water, like the low strings of a bowed instrument. The mast rises into the mist, vanishing before your eyes can find its tip. Even unseen, You sense its presence, the way it steadies the boat, the way it would carry the sails if called upon to move. You find a seat near the stern, where the view opens out over the water. Here, the air feels different, not just cooler, but somehow freer, unconfined. It carries with it the scent of open sea, distant and faint, like a memory that has not yet fully returned. Your thoughts begin to drift, unclored. The harbor holds you the way a lullaby holds a child, not by forcing sleep, but by making wakefulness unnecessary. You feel time stretch, loosen, lose its sharp edges. It's here, in this softened space, that you remember something simple. Every journey begins with stillness, before the sails are raised, before the oars dip into the water. There is a moment of simply being, of breathing, alongside the sea and the sky, letting them align inside you. Your eyes follow the path of the lantern light again, watching it spill across the water and fracture into dozens of trembling lines. Each line seems to want to reach the far shore, yet none of them hurry. They move with the same slow intention as the tide, and you begin to feel yourself moving that way too. Somewhere out beyond the mouth of the harbor, the sea waits broad, restless, full of stories. But here, inside these protective arms of land, the water feels like a companion rather than a challenge. It does not ask for effort, only attention. You think of how harbors have always been places of both safety and departure. They are the breath before the leap, the shelter that allows the leap to be possible. In their quiet, they hold the echoes of far-off storms and the laughter of safe returns. A faint sound draws your gaze upward, the creak of rigging shifting in the breeze. It's a sound sailors know well, a reminder that even at rest, a vessel is never entirely still. There is always the pull of tide, the whisper of air, the living flecks of wood and rope. The mist thickens slightly, drawing the night closer around you. In its soft embrace, shapes lose their definition, leaving only outlines, impressions, glimmers of light. The line between water and sky begins to blur, until it is not clear where one ends and the other begins. In that blurring, you feel a kind of freedom here. The exact edges of the world do not matter. What matters is that you are afloat, supported, gently carried, even without moving. You close your eyes for a moment, letting the sounds layer themselves. The lap of water against the hull, the muted groan of the dock, the faint, almost hidden pulse of the sea beyond. It's enough to imagine the boat slipping away from its ropes, turning slowly toward the mouth of the harbor. You do not feel urgency to go, only the quiet knowing that you could. The choice to stay or sail is yours. And tonight, the harbor itself feels like a destination. When you open your eyes again, the lantern's glow seems deeper, the reflections stretching farther into the darkness. The tide gives a gentle tug, as if reminding you that the open sea is always waiting, even if you choose not to go tonight. And as you sit there, breathing in time with the water, you begin to wonder, what shapes might the sea take once the boat truly leaves the harbor's shelter? The the boat born from forests and fields. The hull begins in a forest, where timbers once reached toward the sun. Carpenters shape oak and pine, each plank holding years of wind and rain. Sails are stitched from cloth that sheltered crops, and ropes twist from river-grown hemp. Every part of the boat remembers another life before meeting the water, before it ever floated. This boat belonged to the land. It began as a seed, barely the width of a fingernail, pressed into damp soil under the canopy of a forest. The seed split open in spring's gentle insistence, sending down a root, sending up a stem, feeling its way toward the light. Season after season, it grew taller, its cells building walls of cellulose, the quiet architecture of trees, the oak and pine that formed the boat's ribs and planks. Each spent decades listening to the wind they drank from, rain that carried whispers of clouds drifting in from distant seas. In winter, they stood bare against snow. In summer, they dappled the forest floor in green shade. Every ring in their trunks is a memory, a pale band for fast summer growth, a dark one for slow winter rest. To the trained eye, those rings tell of dry years, wet years, storms survived, and the patient work of becoming strong when the time came. The trees met the carpenters, saw. It was not a hurried process. Each trunk was studied, the grain traced with fingertips before the first cut. Carpenters know that wood remembers the way it grew. A plank cut without respect will twist back toward its original shape. The scent of fresh-cut oak is sweet and sharp, mingled with the resin-rich aroma of pine. Sap beads at the ends of the boards, catching the light like amber dust. In those scents and colors, the forest is still present, even as the wood's new purpose begins to take shape. The ribs of the boat, its curved skeleton, are steamed and bent into place, the heat making the fibers pliable just long enough to accept their new form. When they cool, they hold the curve as though they were grown that way. Planks are laid side by side, their edges caulked with oakum, a mixture of fiber and tar, pressed deep to keep out the sea dot above the deck. The boat will need sails. These begin not in the forest, but in the fields. For centuries, sailcloth was woven from flax, its pale fibers drawn from the stalks of plants grown in long rows in the breeze. Flax fields shimmer like silver-green water, each stalk swaying with the movement of air it will one day harness again to make sailcloth. The flax fibers are separated from the woody core, spun into yarn, then woven into tight, even fabric. The weave must be strong but not too heavy, able to catch wind without tearing under strain. You run your fingers over the cloth and feel the fine ridges of warp and weft, a texture born of patient hands and the steady rhythm of a loom. Some sails are cotton now, soft yet durable, grown under the same sun that warmed the forest. The science of textiles is as old as agriculture itself, understanding which fibers stretch, which resist water, which can breathe in the heat. When stitched together with careful seams, the sails become wings, not of feathers, but of fabric and wind. The ropes to have their origin in the soil. For much of history, they were made of hemp, a plant that grows tall and straight, its stalks filled with strong, flexible fibers. Harvested and soaked, the fibers loosen from the woody core, then dry in the sun before being twisted into yarns. 3 yarns twist together into strands. 3 strands twist together into rope. If you hold a length of hemp rope to your ear, you can almost hear the echo of riverbanks and warm fields where the plants once grew. Its surface is rough, but its strength lies in that very texture, the microscopic hooks in the fibers gripping each other so tightly that the rope resists pulling apart. Even the smallest parts of the boat, the pegs, the blocks through which ropes run, carry stories. Some come from fruit trees whose branches once held blossoms and bees. Others from hardwoods, dense enough to sink if dropped in water. Iron nails may seem born of fire and forge alone, but there or began as stone, buried in the earth for millions of years in smelting. The iron is freed from rock by heat, reshaped into the forms the boat will need. Every material has been changed, yet each keeps a trace of its former life. The deck under your feet still smells faintly of pine on warm days. The sails, when wet, release a scent that recalls the damp of a morning field. The ropes grow soft and pliable with use, as though remembering the sway of their first growth in the wind. You walk the length of the boat, running your hand along the gunwale. The wood is smooth from planing, yet you can feel the faint rise and fall of grain beneath the finish. It's a reminder that this was once a living thing, turning sunlight into sugar, sugar into growth, without hurry. The mast stands like a tree, still rooted, though its roots are now the lines and beams that hold it firm. High above, it will bear the sails the way branches once bore leaves, catching the invisible energy moving through the air. You pause at the bow. Here, the lines curve forward into a point, parting the water when the boat moves. The shape is both art and physics. The gentle slope allows water to flow smoothly aside, reducing resistance, saving the crew's strength or the wind's gift. The science of shipbuilding is old, carried forward in the minds and hands of those who built before. It is a discipline of balance to narrow, and the boat may tip. Too wide, and it will drag. Too light, and it may break. Too heavy, and it may sink. And yet, beyond the calculations, each builder leaves a signature, a quiet personality in the angles and joins, the way the boat will feel under sail. When you step back, you see more than a vessel. You see a collection of moments from earth and sky, field and forest, gathered together into a single form. It is a memory made solid, a record of the places it came from, ready now to create new memories upon the water. The boat is not just an object, it is a meeting place for worlds. The minerals from the deep ground, the fibers that reached for the sun, the rain that once fell on leaves now glides down the hull. You realize that, in a way, stepping aboard is stepping into the continuation of countless ancient cycles. The carbon in the wood once drifted in the air as gas, pulled into leaves and bound into solid form by sunlight's energy, that the iron in the nails once lay, hidden in rock, formed from the remains of long-dead seas. The wind that will fill the sails tomorrow may have brushed the surface of another ocean an entire season ago. As night deepens around the harbor, the boat rocks gently against the dock. Its timbers creak softly, the sound of wood shifting as it always has. Responding to moisture and movement, you feel the connection between this stillness and the forest's stillness. Between the rope's twist and the curling of a plant toward the sun, tomorrow, the boat may leave the harbor. It will carry its forest heart, its field skin, its rope sinews into the open sea. But tonight, it rests, its past and its future, both held in the present moment. And as you listen to the soft lap of water against the hull, you begin to wonder, how will the wind itself greet the boat when its sails first open to the night? Stars, compasses, and the moon's pull. You cradle an old brass compass, its needle unwavering in your palm above. Constellations guide you as they once guided sailors for centuries. The tide, moved by the moon's invisible pull, rocks your boat with ancient patience. In this quiet navigation, sky and sea seem to speak the same language. The night is deep and quiet, except for the hush of water moving under the hull. You hold the compass in your hands. Its case is warm from your skin, the brass smooth from years of other hands before yours. Within, the needle trembles for a moment, then steadies, its fine tip pointing toward an invisible north. That needle carries the memory of the earth itself. It is drawn, not by magic, but by the planet's magnetic field, a great, slow river of force flowing from the molten iron heart of the world beneath. Your feet, deep below the crust, iron and nickel swirl in liquid currents, generating invisible lines that stretch far into space. The compass listens to this silent field, aligning itself the way a sunflower aligns with the sun. You turn the compass slightly. The needle resists, always sliding back toward its unseen anchor. It is a quiet reassurance, a promise that no matter where you drift, the planet's own breath will point the way above you. The sky is a map far older than any drawn on paper. Constellations glimmer like scattered fires, their patterns familiar to countless generations before you. To the north, the Little Dipper's tip, Polaris, the North Star, holds its place. Unmoving through the hours, it is not truly still, but its distance is so vast, and the Earth's turning so consistent, that it appears fixed long before compasses, sailors, learned to find direction from the stars. They memorized their rising points, their seasonal shifts, their slow wheel around Polaris. In the southern seas, where Polaris hides below the horizon, navigators learned other guides, the Southern Cross, the bright pointers of Alpha and Beta Centauri. You tilt your head back. The Milky Way stretches from one horizon to the other, a pale river of light made from billions of stars. Your eyes cannot pick out each one, but together they form a glow that has crossed unimaginable distances to reach you. The starlight above may be older than human memory, older even than the forests that became the boat beneath you. Your gaze drifts to the moon, silver bright tonight, its surface etched with dark plains and pale highlands. Those shadows are ancient, the scars of impacts, the frozen flows of ancient lava seas. The moon turns the same face toward Earth always, its rotation perfectly balanced with its orbit, a dance of gravitational lock. Its pull on the Earth is gentle, yet constant. It draws the oceans toward it, lifting a bulge of water on the side facing the moon. Another bulge rises on the opposite side, as the Earth itself is pulled slightly toward the moon, leaving the water behind. These two great swells travel around the planet as it spins, becoming the tides. You feel the tide in the soft rise and fall of the boat. It is an ancient rhythm, older than the first ships, older than the first humans. For as long as there has been an ocean, the moon's pull has shaped its surface, whispering to the shores in waves and currents. The air tonight is cool and faintly salted. A low swell moves under the boat, rocking it with a patience that makes your eyelids grow heavy. The compass rests now on the deck beside you, still pointing north, as though it were keeping watch while you drift into thought. Navigation is the art of trust. Trust in instruments, in the stars, in the feel of wind and water. Long ago, sailors could read the sea's surface the way you read words, noticing patterns in waves that hinted at distant land or passing storms. They learned to smell rain before it came, to judge direction from the flight of seabirds, to feel the faint change in motion when entering a shallow bay. Even now, with satellites and electronic charts, the old ways endure. The compass still serves as a quiet truth-teller when batteries fail. The stars still mark the hours for those who look up from their screens, and the moon still lifts and lowers the water, as it has since before the first human looked skyward. You close your eyes and imagine the sea beneath the boat, not as a surface, but as a living map. Currents wind like slow rivers within it, carrying warmth from the tropics toward the poles, and cold water back again. The moon's pull shapes some of these flows. The Earth's spin shapes others, and together they weave an unseen pattern across the planet. The Polynesian wayfinders once read this map without charts. They felt the subtle interference of swells crossing from different directions, each telling of a far-off island or storm. Their boats could travel for weeks across open water, guided only by what the sea, the sky, and the wind whispered to them. In your stillness now, you can almost believe you feel those same whispers. The water moves differently when it passes over deep ocean trenches than when it brushes the slopes of a hidden sea. Mount. The boat sways just so, and though you cannot name it, you sense the vast shape of the world beneath. You lift the compass again and glance at the needle. North lies beyond the darkness, beyond the curve of the horizon. If you followed it, you would pass under new skies, where the constellations shift and familiar stars sink away. Yet even there, the magnetic pull would still be waiting, steady as a heartbeat. The stars, too, would be waiting different, but constant in their own ways. From other latitudes, Orion would tilt or fade. The Southern Cross would rise. New patterns would become your guides, and the moon, unchanged, would follow you across the sea, pulling the tides wherever you went in this moment. You understand that navigation is more than finding your place. It is a conversation with the earth and sky, a way of listening to forces that have always been here. The compass speaks the language of the planet's molten core. The stars tell of the Earth's turning, and the vast distances of space. The tides carry the moon's quiet voice. You think of the boat as a listener, too, its timbers flexing slightly with the swell, its mast tilting to catch the wind, its hull parting the water without disturbing its deeper rhythms. It too is part of the exchange between sea and sky. Somewhere beyond the dark horizon lies the course you will follow. It is not a straight line, for no true voyage is it will curve with the winds, with the currents, with the choices you make in the quiet hours. Between stars, the compass will be there in your palm. The constellations will wheel slowly overhead. The moon will continue its ancient work, pulling and releasing in a cycle that feels like breathing. And as you sit here, rocked gently by the tide, you feel the question rise: what stories will the wind tell? When you first loosen the ropes and let the sails rise into the night. Cargo of invisible things. Your boat carries no gold, no spices, no trade goods. Instead, the hold is filled with laughter, seasons, and stories you thought forgotten. Each crate opens like a memory, scented faintly with time and place. You realize these are the treasures you've been gathering all your life. You lean over the side of the boat, listening to the water's soft hush against the hull. It feels strange to think of cargo when the deck is empty. No barrels, no crates, no heavy ropes binding stacks of goods. Yet somewhere deep in the vessel, perhaps in its wooden bones, perhaps in the space you cannot name, something is being carried. This cargo is not measured in weight, but in moments. It shifts quietly when you move, settling into the contours of your journey. You sense it the way you might sense the warmth of a stone after the sun has set, an afterglow that lingers unhurried, almost invisible. You picture yourself opening the first crate. Inside is the smell of rain on a street you once walked as a child. There is no water here, no pavement, yet the scent is as whole as if it had been bottled. It arrives in a breath, carrying the shimmer of wet leaves, the rippling sound of gutters overflowing, the rush of air before the next drop falls. Memory is stored not in neat boxes, but in networks of living cells inside your brain. More than 80 billion neurons extend fine branches toward each other. When a moment matters, a scent, a sound, a sudden laugh, those branches strengthen their connection. The pattern becomes part of you, ready to be awakened by the smallest spark. Scientists call this process synaptic plasticity, the way connections between neurons can change with experience. But to you, it feels like the ocean itself, holding ripples from every wave that has ever touched it. You may not see them on the surface, but in the deeper layers, their traces remain. Another crate opens. This one is filled with a winter afternoon. Your hands wrapped around a mug, steam curling upward, frost etching fragile maps on the window. You can almost hear the faint tick of the clock on the wall, the muffled quiet of snow outside. The brain does not store time like a ledger. Moments do not line up in a perfect sequence. They rest together, layered like sediments in stone. When you recall one, it rises whole, not as a list of details, but as a living scene. Even the body remembers. The muscles in your fingers recall the curve of the mug. Your lungs remember the slower rhythm of breath. The boat rocks gently. You imagine the hold filling with other invisible cargo. The sound of your name, spoken in kindness. The sudden lift in your chest when you first saw a certain horizon. The way the air changes just before dawn, cool and promising. All of it has weight, though you could never measure it on a scale. Memories are not stored as perfect films, but as networks of sensation and meaning. When you retrieve one, your brain does something extraordinary. It rebuilds the moment, drawing from stored fragments, then weaves them back together. It is like opening a chest of cloth scraps and sewing them into the shape of a garment you once wore. Some of your cargo is not personal, but shared. Stories passed to you across years and generations, spoken in kitchens or under trees. Each one changes slightly with every telling, shaped by the teller's voice, the listener's heart, the details chosen or forgotten. Human memory is not fixed. It is alive. This is why stories travel like seeds, not in rigid form, but adaptable, able to grow differently in new soil. A tale about a voyage long ago becomes in your hands a map for your own travels. A fragment of a lullaby sung by a grandparent becomes part of the rhythm you hum without knowing why. You think of the seasons you've carried without trying to. The slow gold light of autumn afternoons, the green hush of a forest in spring, leaves just unfurling, the deep warmth of summer nights when the air seems to hold its breath. The earth turns through these seasons because its axis leans, not upright, but tilted toward and away from the sun in its orbit. That tilt changes the way sunlight touches each hemisphere, shaping the dance of light and shadow across the year. Your body has learned this cycle as much as your mind. The subtle changes in energy, the way certain smells awaken at certain times. It is another kind of cargo. These rhythms of the planet, they are stored in you as surely as any memory, shaping when you wake, when you rest. When you feel the urge to journey or to stay, you run your hand along the wood beside you. The boat itself holds a kind of memory, too. Its timbers have been bent to shape, its hull carved to cut the water just so. Each knot and grain tells of the tree it came from, the seasons it endured before it became part of your vessel. Even the sea holds memory. Currents remember the winds that drove them, the rivers that fed them, the heat they have carried across thousands of miles. When a wave reaches your boat, it is the result of forces set in motion far away, perhaps days or weeks ago. You ride not just water, but the memory of distant storms and calm mornings. Another crate opens, and this time you find laughter, unshaped, untethered, spilling into the air like sunlight through leaves. Laughter is contagious because of the way your brain mirrors others. Specialized cells called mirror neurons fire both when you act and when you observe the same action in someone else. They help you feel what others feel, to share joy without needing to think about it in your invisible cargo. Laughter is as important as food. It binds you to others, makes the boat lighter. Even on heavy days, it reminds you that your journey is not only about destinations, but about the moments between the warmth of a shared glance, the sudden delight in something small. Not all crates hold gentle things. Some hold storms, the sharp words you wish you hadn't spoken, the silences that lasted too long. These too are part of your cargo. They shape you, but they do not have to steer you. The mind has a gift, the ability to reshape how it holds these heavier memories through reflection. Through time, they can soften. You cannot erase the past, but you can choose the meaning you draw from it, the way you let it guide your next course. As the night deepens, you feel the weight of the cargo shift again. It is not heavier or lighter, only more present. Each crate is open now, its contents breathing into the air around you. They mix seasons with laughter, tides with faces, winds with words, until they are no longer separate. You understand that this is what you truly carry, not isolated moments, but a woven tapestry of experience. It is alive, still growing, still ready to hold whatever tomorrow brings. The boat drifts in the moonlight, its shadow stretching like a memory across the water. You close your eyes and feel the gentle press of all that has brought you here. Far ahead, the night air begins to shift. It brushes your face differently now, cooler, carrying a scent you cannot place. Somewhere beyond the horizon, the wind is rising, and with it, the promise of new stories to gather. Storms and harbors that never were. Dark clouds rise on the horizon, but the air remains still. It is a storm that passes only in the mind, leaving the water untouched. Soon, your boat arrives at ports unmarked by any map, lantern bridges, lavender fields, dream markets dot each shore. Feels both strange and achingly familiar. The clouds form slowly, like ink blooming through paper. From a distance, they seem heavy, layered, waiting to fall. Yet the water under your boat is glass, undisturbed. You watch the dark shapes gather above and realize the wind has not stirred. The waves have not risen. The storm is not here in the air, it is inside you. It begins as a shift in the rhythm of thought, a subtle tightening, as though some hidden current has changed direction. Your breath, still slow, moves through it, feeling the weight but not yet naming it. These storms come without warning, and they leave without rain. Inside the mind, storms take many forms. Neurons send signals along their intricate branches, each electrical pulse as brief as a blink of lightning. When thoughts spiral, certain pathways fire again and again, reinforcing their own momentum, like wind feeding itself. Around a low-pressure center, the pattern can grow until it fills the whole sky of your awareness. Yet, unlike the weather above the sea, these storms are not bound by physics alone. They can dissolve when you turn your attention, when you find anchor in the present moment. Breathing becomes the rope you coil in your hands. Awareness is the harbor you steer toward. The clouds in your mind thin through their parting. The horizon stretches wide, and they're faint at first. You see a line of lights, not stars, for they sway and glimmer closer to the water, a harbor, though none you have known before. You steer toward it without a map, guided only by the rhythm of the lights. As you draw near, you see lanterns strung from arches that span the water. The bridges seem woven from the glow itself, each step bright enough to hold you, but soft enough to fade, perhaps, or a memory of it. You inhale, and the scent feels older than you, as if it has traveled with you through lifetimes. The science of smell is the science of memory's oldest door. Odor molecules slip into the nose, where tiny receptors catch their shapes like locks meeting keys. From there, the signal travels not through detours, but straight to the limbic system, the part of your brain that shapes emotion and stores memory. This is why a single breath can return you, whole and sudden, to a summer long ago, or to a harbor you have never truly visited in this place. There is no trade in gold or silk. Instead, stalls offer moments, the sound of rain against paper roofs, the weight of a book not yet opened, the taste of air before a snowfall. You walk among them, and each vendor smiles, as if you are expected, as if your arrival has been marked in some unseen ledger. Time folds strangely here. You do not know if you have been wandering for minutes or years. The people you pass speak in low tones, as if the air itself is listening. Some faces seem familiar, though perhaps you've only seen them in dreams. Dreams themselves are another kind of harbor. When you sleep, the brain does not go dark. Instead, it shifts into patterns of activity as complex as any waking thought. The visual centers light up, weaving images from fragments of memory, stray sensations, and the raw hum of imagination. In rapid eye movement sleep, REM, your body is still, but your mind sails without anchor, touching coasts you've never walked in life. Some neuroscientists believe dreams help sort and store your memories, testing possible futures, rehearsing dangers without real risk. Others see them as the brain's art, free from logic's constraints, painting with color and light and sound in ways the waking world rarely allows. You wander out of the market and find the edge of the harbor. Boats are tied there, but their ropes hum softly as if plucked by unseen fingers. The water is dark, but clear enough to see lights moving deep below, like constellations reversed. Perhaps they are the reflections of other worlds, or the memories of stars that have long gone dark. You dip your hand into the water. It is warmer than you expect, carrying a slow, even pulse, like the heartbeat of the harbor itself. Your own pulse matches it, and for a moment, you feel as though you have been here before. Maybe not in this life, but somewhere in the long thread of time your mind carries. Memory does not always belong to the life you can name. Some are shaped from stories told before you were born, woven into you through the voices of others. Some are shaped from instincts, written deep in your biology. The pull toward water, the comfort of firelight, the sense of safety in enclosed spaces when storms are near. Your ancestors carried these patterns in their bodies, the need to find shelter, the awareness of shifting weather, the quiet skill of navigating by the night sky. You inherit them without knowing their origin, and they surface in moments like these, when an unfamiliar shore feels like home. Farther along the docks, you find another bridge of light, leading away from the harbor. Beyond it, a faint mist blurs the shapes of what might be mountains or clouds. The path calls to you, but you pause, listening. A harbor can be a place to rest, but also a place to linger too long. The brain loves the comfort of the familiar, the well-worn neural pathways where thought flows like water in a deep channel. Yet growth often comes from setting out again, from letting new experiences carve fresh paths. The storm that brought you here was only in your mind, and the harbor, perhaps, is only there as well. Still, both feel real enough to change you. You step onto the bridge, feeling the boards sway beneath your feet. The lantern light sways with you, the air cooling as the mist draws closer. Each step carries you farther from the known, and yet the rhythm of your breath remains steady, like an anchor you carry within. You glance back once, but the harbor has already begun to fade, its shapes dissolving into the horizon. The clouds above have scattered, their darkness thinned into streaks of soft silver. Somewhere ahead, beyond the mist, something shifts. Not a storm, not a market, but a movement in the air, almost like a question. And you wonder, as you walk, what shape the wind will take when you meet it. The return across quiet waters. The sails loosen, the wind slows, and you turn for home. The sea lies smooth as glass, holding the reflection of a sky you almost remember. Every mile back feels like a closing chapter, yet the story lingers in the air. You approach the dock, knowing it will not look quite the same. The wind that carried you so far now rests in a soft exhale. Your sails hang loose, their white cloth breathing with the gentle rise and fall of the sea. The horizon ahead is a pale band between water and sky, as if the world is folding itself into a single line. The air smells faintly of salt and sunlight, and somewhere in the distance, a gull calls once, then falls silent. Your hands rest lightly on the tiller. There is no need to guide the boat with force. It knows the way. Each ripple under the hull is a soft reminder of the distance you have traveled, and of the many shapes the sea has shown. You dot the water. Here is calm, its surface reflecting the sky so perfectly that the boat seems to drift through air. The calmness you feel now is not the absence of movement, but the result of many forces balancing each other in the sea. Even on days like this, countless currents move beneath the surface. Cold, dense water sinks, while warmer water rises. Tides pull and release with the slow breathing of the moons. Gravity, microscopic life, drifts with these hidden rivers. Phytoplankton, turning sunlight into oxygen. Invisible threads keeping the ocean alive. Your body has its own quiet currents. To dot your heartbeat slows, your breath deepens, and the patterns of your brain shift into a softer rhythm. The calm you feel is as real as the wind and tide, and like them, it is made of motion, so gentle you barely sense it. You lean over the side, watching the reflection of clouds in the water. They seem close enough to touch, their edges curling into delicate spirals. In truth, clouds are just water, two tiny droplets suspended in the air, shaped by invisible thermals. Some of the water in them might once have been in rivers you have sailed past, or even in the harbor you are returning to now. Every molecule of water on Earth is ancient, some formed before the sun itself, carried here on icy comets. When you drink, when you sail, when you breathe in the mist above the waves, you are touching something that has been part of countless other journeys. The sky deepens into a color that is not quite blue, not quite silver. Somewhere behind you, the path you came by is fading, not in distance, but in memory. You try to recall the exact shape of the last harbor, the scent of its air, but the details blur. Memories, like tides, change with time. Scientists say memory is not a fixed recording. Each time you recall something, the brain rebuilds it, weaving together fragments of stored images, sounds, and sensations. A remembered journey is never exactly the same as the one you lived. It is shaped anew each time, touched by who you are in the moment of remembering. And so, as you drift homeward, you know that even if you return to the same dock, you are not the same traveler who left it. The sun lowers, and the light on the water turns soft and golden. Your shadow stretches ahead of you, crossing the mirror of the sea. It feels less like a destination now, more like a slow merging boat, and sea and sky blending into one quiet motion in this stillness. Sound carries farther. You hear the creak of the mast, the lap of water against wood, the faint rustle of the loosened sail. Even your own breath feels part of the ocean's rhythm. There is a kind of science to these small sounds. Your ears collect pressure waves in the air, passing them along to the eardrum. Tiny bones inside vibrate, sending the movement into the spirals of the cochlea, where delicate hair cells translated into electrical signals. From there, your brain shapes it into meaning, a gull's call, a splash, the whisper of wind. Each sound is not only heard, but felt in the body, carried in the same currents that slow your pulse far ahead. The first outline of the dock appears. It seems smaller than you remembered, as though distance has reduced it. Or perhaps you have grown larger in the space of your travels. You think of all the harbors you have known, both real and imagined, and how they have changed you. Some were brief pauses, others turning points. Returning is not simply going back. It is arriving with new layers, experiences like sediment settling on the seafloor, forming quiet records of all you have seen. Even if no one else notices the change, you feel it in the weight and shape of yourself. The water around the dock lies perfectly still, disturbed only by the slow V-shape your boat carves. as you come closer. You notice the scent of the shore, earth warmed by the sun, faint traces of wood from somewhere inland. You breathe it in, and something inside you shifts. The way a stone settles deeper into sand, your mind begins to map the details, the curve of the shoreline, the angle of the dock's posts, the pattern of ropes along its edge. This mental mapping is ancient. Humans have always memorized the shapes of their surroundings to find their way. Neuroscientists have traced this skill to place cells in the hippocampus, tiny neurons that fire when you occupy a specific location. As you approach, some of those cells are lighting up again, recognizing home. The boat slows without your asking. Its bow nudges gently against the dock, and you reach out to tie the rope. The knot comes easily to your hands, muscle memory guiding the movement. It feels like greeting an old friend. The wood beneath your palm, the sound of rope tightening. Stepping onto the dock, you notice the boards creak in familiar notes. The sound is part of the place, as much as the gulls and the smell of salt. Yet you also see small differences. A new crack in the wood, a coil of rope you do not remember. It reminds you that even home changes in your absence. You pause there for a moment, one hand still on the boat, the other resting on the dock's worn post behind you. The water reflects a sky deepening toward night. Ahead, the path home waits. Though you are in no hurry to walk it, you think of the journey you've just made, the harbors that appeared only when you needed them, the storms that never touched the sea, the cargo of invisible things you carried without knowing. Each has left its mark, quiet but enduring. The wind is gone now, and the air is still. But somewhere beyond the dock, past the hills and the night, something else is moving. Not water, not wind, but a deeper current. You can feel it, waiting just out of sight, ready to carry you onward when the time comes. The boat that waits in dreams. You step ashore and glance back. The boat sways gently, patient as a heartbeat. Later, as you drift into sleep, you hear the creak of wood and the sigh of sails. It has returned, moored just beyond waking, ready to sail again each night. And so you let it take you once more. You step from the dock onto land, the faint echo of the sea still in your body. The boards under your feet feel warmer than the boat's deck, holding the last heat of the day. Behind you, the boat sways gently. At its mooring, each movement small and certain, as though it has always known how to wait. The rope hums faintly when the water pulls against it, a sound more felt than heard, like a heartbeat through wood and fiber. The air here is still. No waves slap the hull. No wind moves the sails, now furled tight against the mast. Yet the boat does not seem asleep. It seems alert in its own quiet way, a creature resting between journeys. Later, in the hush of your own room, you find the same rhythm. The day slips away, your muscles unwinding like ropes loosened from their cleats. Breath by breath, your body's systems slow into night mode, heart rate easing, blood pressure lowering, temperature dropping slightly to signal rest. The science is simple, but the sensation is ancient. your body preparing to drift, just as the boat does when it is untethered. Sleep is its own voyage. Brain waves lengthen, settling from the faster ripples of wakefulness into the slow, deep swells of non-REM stages. Muscles grow heavy, though the mind begins to float. You may think you are still in your room, but already the docks and harbors of the day are receding. Somewhere between the last conscious thought and the first dream, the boat appears again. It waits in a quiet cove of the mind, sails loosened, water glassy beneath it. There is no need to board. You are already there, stepping onto the familiar deck without moving at all. In dreams, location is a matter of intention, and here, intention is as light as a breath. Scientists say that in REM sleep, your brain becomes almost as active as when you are awake. Neurons fire in patterns that weave memory, imagination, and emotion into a seamless tapestry. This is why dreams can feel both impossible and absolutely real. The same networks that help you navigate waking life are at work, rearranging their cargo. The boat slips away from shore without a sound. You notice the water. Here is not like any you have sailed before. It shimmers faintly, as if lit from below. Each ripple spreads in slow motion, the surface holding reflections of places you have known and ones you have never seen. Dream oceans follow no single law. They borrow the rules of waking physics when they wish, then discard them without effort. One moment the horizon curves as it does on Earth. The next, it bends upward into a spiral, as if the world has curled into the shape of a shell. And yet, even here, the brain takes its cues from real sensations. When you dream of a boat tilting under wind, your inner ear's vestibular system, the same one that keeps you balanced in waking life, is active, simulating the gentle sway. When you feel the salt air, your sensory cortex paints it from memory, pulling molecules of scent from the archive of your past journeys. You stand at the bow, watching dream currents shift in colors not found in daylight. A school of silver fish darts in spirals, their motion perfectly synchronized in waking life. Such schooling is a survival strategy. Thousands of individual decisions made in milliseconds, guided by the lateral line, a sense organ that detects vibrations in the water. Here in dreams, they move not from fear, but from some unspoken joy. The boat glides toward a shoreline that changes as you approach. At first, it is a sweep of sand, pale and endless. Then it becomes a pier of lanterns, hanging from threads of light. The brain is an artist without pause, layering details as quickly as you can take them in dot. In one harbor, you step ashore into a place where the air hums softly, as if the whole island is breathing. Every tree carries blossoms shaped like stars. Each one opens and closes in time with the tide, though you know no such tree exists on Earth. You also know that the opening and closing is true. Countless flowers and leaves in the waking world move in rhythms called nyctinesti, responding to light temperature and the internal clock of the plant. You wander here for what feels like hours, though in waking time it might be only minutes. Dream time is elastic, stretching and folding in ways that defy the clock. Your brain's perception of duration relies on patterns of activity, and in dreams, those patterns are rearranged, freed from the steady beat of the external world. The boat waits for you. Wherever you walk, you never see it follow, but it is always there when you return to the water's edge. In this, it is like the constant backdrop of your own mind, the stable sense of self that remains, even as thoughts and scenes change. When you step aboard again, the deck is warm underfoot. You sit, leaning against the mast, watching clouds drift overhead. These clouds are strange. They dissolve into flocks of birds, then into folded paper, then into nothing at all. Your brain is playing with its own imagery, testing what forms can emerge from the same shapes somewhere. Far away, the edges of the dream begin to soften. You do not feel the boat returning, only that the air grows thinner, the light dimmer in waking life. This is the moment when REM sleep gives way to lighter stages, or when the body stirs slightly, a leg shifts, a breath changes pace. But here, you simply find yourself back in the cove. The boat rests again, sails lowered, water still around it. You know it will remain here until you return. Dreams are transient, yet the places you revisit in them can become as real to you as any harbor in the waking world. Your brain's spatial maps can be applied to imagined landscapes, giving them the same sense of solidity as the streets you walk by day. You step ashore one last time, and the sand beneath your feet is cool. The shore is not a place you recognize, but it feels like the threshold of waking, somewhere beyond the dunes. Light is growing, not the light of the dream's lanterns, but the paler, steadier light that comes before morning. The boat rocks once behind you, a gentle farewell. It does not need to speak, nor can it. Its presence is enough, the knowledge that it will be waiting, night after night, in whatever shape your mind chooses to give it. You turn toward the dunes, hearing the faint hiss of the tide against the shore. Your steps feel lighter, the dream loosening around you. In the distance, there is a sense, not a sight, not a sound, but a certainty that another kind of journey is beginning, one that does not need sails or water or even sleep to carry you. And so the journey comes to rest. The sails are lowered, the waters are still, and you drift quietly, surrounded by calm. Rest well. Until the next time, the boat waits for you, just beyond the edge of waking.